So should do you think we should start? Do you think
And we're live on YouTube.
Oh. Does that mean that we should start, do you think, Salahuddin?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah. Oh. So how do we open this Diaspora kitchen then? Do I say, hi Salahuddin, what are you gonna cook? And then I leave it to you to just get on with your cooking.
We can do that.
Okay. Hi Salahuddin, what are you gonna cook?
Well, I'm going to cook a bit of a mixture of my Syrian and South Asian heritage. So I'm making a fish and coconut sauce curry, so coconut milk. Technically, it's not from my part of the Indian subcontinent, but because my late dad, used to cook a lot of fish dishes for health reasons and to keep us all healthy. Because Northern Indian cuisine, where my dad's from, is very heavy on the meat, and it's not so rich, and the fish heritage could be richer, and I think sometimes it's healthier. So I've started I really like fish curries, so I just wanted to make a clarification. It's not from Northern India / Pakistan necessarily. This is more South Indian, but for health reasons I've opted to do the fish curry. And then we're going to make a savory Damascene bread pudding called tas'iyah. So it's just like chickpeas, and that's like and pita bread. It'll all come together, and then you got like pomegranates to go on top. Now, some of these ingredients, if you're from outside the Levant, like Syria or Lebanon or Palestine or Jordan, this might not make any sense to you, but these ingredients will somehow come together. So I will start with the fish and in coconut milk curry. So I've got my fish here. I've got cod. And as per recommendation of one of the Caribbean elders of the community, he just likes to put lime in everything. For him, it's like a form of. He says it blesses the food, and like I always take elders' recommendations seriously. Whatever they say, I just accept. And I take it as gospel truth when it comes to cooking, especially because sometimes they never tell you specify ingredients, 1 tablespoon of this or that. They just tell you, they know once that you cook the food if it tastes right, and they do it through sort of like they cook through love and just through intuitive knowledge. So I'm going to give that a bit of a go. Of course, since I'm learning, I still have to learn the proper way, like the recipes. So I'm going to get started. So I've got my onions, ginger, and garlic. But with most fish curries, I believe you put your mustard seeds in first and you let them fry, and you fry them in the coconut sauce. Sorry, in the coconut oil. And we'll get started on that. Can you see me all so far?
Yeah. You put some 2 tablespoons of
coconut,
tablespoons of coconut oil.
Yeah.
Into the pot.
Yeah. So put that, let it melt a bit. Then I'm going to put my mustard seeds in and let them fry and pop. And then next I'm going to put my ginger, green chilies, curry leaves. I'm going to find the curry leaves. Oh yeah, here we are. Because I got everything out just so I wouldn't have to search for it. Because I'll just quickly show you our drawing cabinet. My mum's extremely organized in the sense that she put all the spices together and got all the names.
All right.
there.
Okay.
So it makes it really easy when you're cooking and stuff like that. So you don't have to like look for ages and find things.
So how did you develop your kind of confidence in the kitchen?
I mean, to be honest, I realized that you're always going to be very scared, and the only way to do it is to do it.
Yeah.
And then also just watching elders over the years. Just watching my dad cook. So I had a very good sort of male role model when it came to cooking. So my late dad used to cook for many people in the community. And he used to cook for like homeless people sometimes. He used to cook for like students like especially American students who've come from military academies, who had very sort of, used to do this for the mosque, for our local mosque, and they used to have very sort of hostile perceptions of Islam. And they'd come and do a semester abroad in the UK. And, you know, like sometimes what he couldn't do through debate and kind of changing their mind, he treated them to a bit of his cooking, and it broke down their sort of like cultural stereotypes, their religious stereotypes, and it changed people. Like, I don't know, it's just like there's something about breaking bread with people that sort of reduces hostility. And we used to have all these kind of like kids from like Trump land, like eating at our dinner table, and you know, just over a bit of, I just realized for some people, if you just give them a bit of food, they change their minds. I don't know, there's some magic to it. So I don't know whether we should use that with the EDL, but like, I don't know, we'll see. So we've got our mustard seeds. Just gonna give them like 30 seconds till they pop.
I've not cooked with mustard seeds before, but they actually pop, do they? Like popcorn would pop. Like you
well,
can
like
hear.
they don't turn into like they don't transform into sort of like popcorn or white.
But they make pop sounds.
Yeah. But
Oh,
it gives it a lovely fragrance. I mainly do it for the fragrance, really. And because like also on YouTube, I've been making sure to watch like the authentic stuff. So I see like this South Indian lady in her kitchen, for example. Like I'm not gonna watch Jamie Oliver's because like, I mean, they don't like these type of guys wouldn't even know, like they'll tell you like chicken rendang, for example, is supposed to be crispy, or one of these sort of like culinary cultural faux pas. So like I don't need to listen to them. I just listen to the source, really. Come up the heat a bit. So, Michael, I guess in your experience, like you've been cooking for many years.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy the kitchen. So, yeah, I'm not really good at cooking fish.
Yeah.
But then I'm not really good at eating fish. I don't like it very much. I like scabeche fish, Jamaican scabeche fish, and it's kind of dry and so I'll eat that. A friend of mine actually the other day made me some brown stew fish,
right?
That I'd not had before, but that was okay. But yeah, give me a piece of meat. Anything.
Yeah. You know, there's a saying in Arabic. It's I don't know this. There's a saying. So anyway, I'm putting my ginger, onions, curry leaves. So I'm putting in my chilies, green chilies. And from what I know, I just have to kind of like mix it around till it sautés. I'm gonna turn the fire down just so I don't burn the onion. But yeah, I know, and I also realized, you know, now I've noticed with a lot of my Jamaican friends, for example, a lot of the men are really good cooks, or they know, like they've been taught from a very young age how to cook, and it seems to be very ingrained into the culture. And you know, like I remember there used to be this Jamaican uncle whose house we used to go to, and he used to always make the loveliest sort of curry goat, like especially snapper fish, which is really, really glorious. And also with my dad, I've also like realized, like I've always had of a man in the kitchen, and I've always wanted to take inspiration from that.
You know, as I was brought up, I'm kind of very used to men in the kitchen. My dad used to be an amazing cook. The only thing with my dad, though,
Yeah,
is my dad used to insist on everybody telling him how wonderful his food was. So it wasn't enough to
yes,
eat it and enjoy it, but you had to kind of, you know, the next
definitely.
day he would say, "You're still tasting the food," you know. But my dad was an amazing cook.
Yeah, I can imagine you would be. And it must have been really good to have that role model from a very young age, because in some cultures, in some corners of our community, not everybody, but it seems that it's like, you know, you don't lift the finger in the kitchen sort of thing if you're a man. And I've always thought that's really stupid, because it's like, you know, people, you have to learn to cook, and you're not always going to have your mum to cook for you. And it's just basic survival skill. Like I just don't get. I just don't get why people don't want to learn it sometimes. So I remember meeting somebody, and he was telling me like he refuses to even learn how to boil an egg, and I'm just like, what's wrong with you? Seriously. So I think our onions are brown because I've turned it on high heat. So the next step, I've been told, is to put in the tomatoes
Mm.
and then put them in until they're nice.
So while you're stirring that,
Yeah,
I know that you probably normally wouldn't be wearing this outfit while you were cooking.
no,
I
yes,
wonder if you could kind of, because you have a fashion blog or something, don't you? You write about
yes.
fashion, and yeah, tell us a bit about that while that's happening.
Yeah, so like I do a fashion, I've got a fashion page on Instagram called Adventures in Fashionistan, like Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and it focuses on it it sort of bases on my travels to many different countries, and also my multicultural upbringing of being half Syrian, half sort of like South Asian, Indian, Pakistani, and also growing up in multicultural London. So I was always interested in other people's culture.
Hmm.
And one of the fastest ways I'd learn about other people's culture was through their cultural outfits that I'd see people wearing on Eid, on their sort of like religious festivals. So I just thought, like, after all these years of traveling and being, and also my family's mixed. So I've got like cousins from Jamaica, from Brazil, I've got Kurdish cousins, Spanish cousins, Germans, Colombians, Japanese, Somalis,
Hmm.
you name it, like everything's there. So I've always been surrounded by many different cultures, and that sort of like cultural osmosis, it got me interested in people's outfits. And you know, like I just thought, why don't I mix? I'm a mix of many different cultural influences and a confluence of many of these things. So why
Hmm.
don't I do a blog where I kind of mix all these cultural things together? So I'll talk you through my outfit quickly.
Hmm.
I'm wearing something which reflects my Syrian and Pakistani heritage. So I'm wearing a pakol, which is a Pakistani Afghan hat, which is worn in the tribal areas, but they say came from Greece and Macedonia through Alexander the Great's soldiers, where they used to wear flat caps. So that's just a little bit piece of history. This is from Syria, this waistcoat. It's called a sadriya. It's from Damascus. So they wear it a lot in the all those kind of like a lot of the old city vendors wear it, and sometimes you wear it in weddings, like kind of like the wedding bands and stuff like that. And then underneath it, I'm wearing a belt called a zamnar. So you got like a waist belt. So yeah, like sadly, a lot of people are not very proud of their heritage um, in Syria, which I find really sad. I think it's kind of like lingering European French colonial influence. And if I was to wear this at like a family wedding or something, people would sort of question and say this is something perhaps lower class people wear or folkloric. And
Hmm.
I find that really, really sad,
Hmm.
to be honest. And
Hmm.
I want to, sometimes I wear these things to make a point that people should be proud of their heritage. Like it's great if you're proud of kind of being from Britain, and you know, I'm a proud Brit. But at the same time, I'm not going to dilute my culture. I'm not going to say that I'm not proud of it, because it's part of who I am.
Mm. Can we see what's in the pot?
Yeah. So you got the yeah. You got the onions, you've got the tomatoes, you've got the chili, garlic, and I'm just waiting for these tomatoes to get mushy so I can start adding my spices.
Right. Okay.
So people who are watching, I am quite new to cooking, so don't judge me too harshly.
Mm.
You know,
what's it called? Somebody in the chat is asking, what's the name of the dish? Does it have a name?
The fish curry, to be honest, I don't know if it does. It's just from a South Indian woman I've been watching on YouTube for the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then also like observing just from my dad doing a lot of like coconut milk fish curries. So it doesn't really have a specific name, but whoever wants it, I can send the YouTube tutorial. I can send the YouTube tutorial on for whoever wants it.
Yeah, yeah. Perhaps a bit later on you could stick it in the chat or something.
So yeah, you know, I'm still learning, and you know, like anybody can, like I'm always open to learning from, you know, when all this is over. You know, I'll be willing to learn from you a bit more, Michael.
Ah, what, in terms of cooking?
Yeah, of course. I've always wanted to learn Jamaican cooking.
Oh no, I got some people that could kind of teach you Jamaican cooking. It'd be kind of much better at it.
I think, honestly, I think it's one of the most exciting cuisines, because you've got like the Indian influence, you've got the African influences, you've got the local Taino and Caribbean influences, and then you've got the sort of like West African influence. So, and even Chinese, I hear, like in some corners. So it's a very eclectic and exciting cuisine. It's one of my favorite, I'd say. So I think I'm ready to add my spices.
And so far what you've done is you put some coconut oil in there.
Yeah, coconut oil. Then I added the mustard seeds, allowed them to pop, then put like the ginger, the garlic, the onions, and then sauteed them, and then put in the tomatoes. They say just wait for it to get a bit mushy, and then I'll add the spices, like I put the salt and spices. So salt, turmeric powder, coriander powder, cumin powder, and then I'll add some water, and then the clean fish pieces, and then put it under the pot for like 10 minutes. And whilst that will go in for 10 minutes, I'll probably start the salad or the next bit. Just so we can, for efficiency's sake. Right, so I think I'm going to start adding my spices. Right, so we need, so 1 coriander powder, turmeric, sorry, and now for the cumin. Sorry, am I moving around a bit much?
Yeah, no, you're good. So you've been to over 60 countries, I've read on your blog.
Yeah, just under, yeah.
Wow. And what's the most exciting country you were in, you think?
Ooh, I've got quite a few, but I really like Chechnya and Dagestan, which are republics in the Caucasus in Russia. And I just like going to countries which are perceived to be dangerous, but actually they're quite safe, and they've got a very fascinating culture.
Mm.
And
And
I like that country because, you know, like they still have very sort of traditional values that I like. So like traditional values of masculinity, like the chivalry. They've also got this sort of sense of they're big into their wrestling,
mhm.
like in that part of the world. So you'll see like the Khabib Nurmagomedovs, and I grew up like loving a lot of wrestling and martial arts. So for me, that appealed to me. That the kind of like there's a big emphasis on things like horse riding, on things like honor, protecting your guest, like hospitality. So and I've grown up having a lot of friends from that part of the world. I also love another place I love, Bosnia. I really love Bosnia
Mhm.
because it's like one of the multicultural havens of Europe, like historical multicultural, like a kind of meeting point of Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and meeting with like Turkish, Slavic, and other sort of cultural zones. So, and my dad used to do a lot of aid work there during the war, and so afterwards he'd take us to a lot of road trips across Europe to Bosnia. So that's another place. And obviously, I loved Syria and Pakistan, the countries which when my parents were born.
Mm.
Both very, very special and beautiful countries with very amazing, beautiful people who despite the sort of negative media coverage that they get,
Mhm.
incredibly fascinating cultures. And food-wise, my God, say no more. Say no more. And so in this household, I was always very lucky to get um, an amazing mix of like Syrian and Pakistani cuisine because both my mom and dad are amazing cooks. And like I wish I learned from a younger age from them. Like, and now I'm trying to catch up as much as I can.
Mhm.
So now next bit, yeah. So now I have to put the water and put the fish pieces in now.
Mm. So was that like a glass of water? Is it you put in there?
Yeah, half a glass.
Half a glass of water. Okay.
Yeah, I might have put a bit more than that, but sorry, I turned the fire off by mistake. Yeah, now that's back on. Right. So now I've been told to put the fish pieces in. So, like one Caribbean elder that I was mentioning earlier, he always likes his philosophy is that lime blesses everything. So I think I'm going to go with that. So I cleaned the fish pieces, kind of sort of marinated it in lime. So it's been stewing in lime juice for the last half an hour, I'd say. You probably need to do it for longer, but I was in a bit of a rush today. But I'm going to put in our clean fish pieces.
Mm-hmm. What fish was it? Was it cod?
Cod, cod.
Cod. Mm.
So I'm still learning about all the kind of different fish you can use in the curry because I've also been told tilapia is good. Like but this particular recipe is like more white fish, more white type of fish is good, apparently. Now, we put sprinkle some sauce over the fish. Now I'm going to leave it for about 10 minutes. And just so we can do good on time, I'm going to start the other. Should I bring the saucepan closer to the camera?
Oh yeah, let's have a look. Yeah.
All right.
Oh wow! And so we're just kind of leaving the fish in there to kind of steam out, are we really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're going to leave it in there for 10 minutes under the lid. And then once it's once it's sort of like cooked a bit, we're going to like flip over the pieces. So time is 6:26. So like 36 or 37, I'm going to, like 10-15 minutes, I'm going to open the lid again. So we're going to get started on the other bit now. Now we bring the Syrian. So this is called tis'iyah. The tis'iyah is a savory pita bread and yeah. So as I say, it says savory pita bread and chickpea pudding. So I grew up eating this as sort of like an appetizer throughout my whole life, and I've always loved it. So this is what we do. So basically, you get 3 to 4 like round pita breads, and you tear them into small pieces. Right. So then you get chickpeas, which you sort of like boil to soften, and you leave them overnight, and you leave them in their liquid. Then what you do is you pour the liquid and the chickpeas onto the pita bread. So liquid and all, and you leave it for like a few minutes to soak. So the bread has to get like soft and soaked. So, right. Yeah, so it's gonna get, the bread's gonna get soggy, which is good for us. Then, whilst you do that, yes, so you got yogurt. So this is like another tradition in Syrian, especially in the Middle East and the Levant, like Syria, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, and even Turkey. Like it's a tradition to have homemade yogurt at home. So my mum and dad like been making yogurt. So we've always had homemade yogurt, and we always try and get the best organic milk if we can. And so what you do is you put 2 tablespoons of tahini.
So pronounce that for me again.
Tahini.
Sahini.
Tahini, tea.
And what is it?
So tahini is a sesame seed paste.
Okay.
I'm going to turn the fire a bit low on this, just so it doesn't burn. Yeah. Right, so you put 2 tablespoons of tahini. Right, then I'll bring up the bowl to the camera once we're done. Yeah, so then you get the cumin powder.
Mm-hmm.
You put it in the yogurt and tahini mix. Then you put a bit of salt. So we've started using a lot of Himalayan rock salt. Apparently, all these health food freaks is supposed to be really good. So I guess we're gonna have to take their word for it until medical research proves otherwise. And then you start mixing it together. So that should have soaked now. So now you put this on top of this. So I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Now, like to somebody who's not familiar with our culture, at the moment this is all it won't make sense. So if you're seeing all these kind of like weird flavors go together, just wait until you see the final result, because then it will make sense. You're kind of like being led by Gandalf, and he's telling you different things. You don't understand it at the minute, and this is kind of what it is right now. Yeah, and you have to make sure you don't waste any of this kind of mixture. Okay, I think we'll be good. Give that another 5 to 6 minutes. Okay, so now you mix it, you turn it a little bit upside down.
And so does the yogurt coat the bread or sink
Yes.
or sink into the bread?
It sinks into the bread, so it becomes like it's almost like it's one being.
Mm.
So it's more. So now, do we have any vegans here, by the way? Because the next part is not a very vegan part. It's not very, because in Syrian cooking, we like to use a lot of animal fat. We're very big on animal fat. So next bit, we get some ghee, clarified butter. Yes. So now we've got the base casserole dish here.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to do that as a sort of decoration. So we've got, so in a small frying pan, we've got ghee or clarified butter, and we've got cashew nuts. So now I'm going to fry the cashew nuts in ghee.
Somebody who joined us late, Salahuddin, asking where you're from.
Oh, well, so my father is like Pakistani/Indian, long story. Because of partition, we've moved around both countries. And my mum is from Syria. But she has like both Turkish and Iraqi origins distantly.
Mm.
And also like a lot of our culture, Syrian culture, for example, it's got heavy sort of like Ottoman Turkish historic influences. So even what I'm wearing has Turkish influences from Ottoman times, and some of the kind of food as well. Right. So I'm just melting the ghee. Because basically what we want is to have like crisp cashew nuts, basically.
Mm. So ghee, is that an animal fat, is it, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So if you were vegetarian, because you mentioned vegans earlier on.
Yeah,
so,
because like a lot of vegans might not like that. Probably you can get sort of like vegetable fat, but traditionally in both the cuisines that my mother's and father's culture, ghee is heavily used. For example, in Syrian culture, ghee is used in sort of like to make dishes elaborate and taste better. So, for example, with this ear, this kind of like chickpea pudding. Also, one thing that makes Syrian baklava really famous is the fact that they drench it in ghee, and that gives it, instead of so they don't put so much sugar, they use a lot more ghee, so it gives it a nice, beautiful richness. And I would recommend. So there's a place called Pachi in North Acton. They use ghee and stuff like that. So that's why I like their desserts particularly. I've got a soft spot for them because it reminds me of Syria. Because people like from before the war, people would come from Lebanon and Jordan. They'd flock to Damascus just to buy sweets because they're known for that kind of like authenticity and quality.
Mm. Mm. So you were born in Syria?
No, I was born in London.
Oh, you were born in London. Okay.
I grew up going to Syria a lot. So I've been to before. So I'd say I've been to Syria about 12 to 15 times. I'd say.
Right. Okay.
I'd spend like 2-3 months as a kid. So those were formative years. So like I learned Syrian Arabic, and like we were close to our grandmother. So we've imbibed a lot of culture, and like I've been to Pakistan twice, but I'm familiar with like the Pakistani and Indian culture because a lot of my relatives are here. Okay. Oh, that's starting to look nice. Oh, now I'm going to show you the sort of like golden color of the cashew nuts.
All right.
I don't know if you can see. So now what we do. Now what we do is on top of the kind of casserole dish, we put the sauce of the ghee and the cashew nuts. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So it looks something like this. So you can see the sauce of the ghee. Now, we'll come back to it in a second. Now I have to check. Now it's just been about 11 minutes on the, what's it called?
On the
fish. So we're in no rush to finish this just yet. We just make sure the fish isn't burned. Right. Oh dear.
Does oh dear mean it has burnt, or is it's all separate? It's all a bit overcooked, is it? Or
yeah, I think I burnt. Sorry, guys. I turned the fire too high.
And so what, did it run out of water?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm still learning my way. Luckily, it's not too much of a disaster.
Oh, good.
Except it means a lot of washing up later. Yeah, I'll open it.
Whoops.
Yeah, I'm going to open the window just so the fire alarm doesn't. Because I always say fire alarms are not culturally sensitive. Honestly, like they're made for white people. Sorry if there's any white people, but they're made for you because you guys, because we like to be creative and we like use a lot of heat in our food and stuff like that. And fire alarms are they just don't understand us culturally. To be honest.
So if you were gonna cook this to share a meal with any three people, alive or dead, who do you want to share it with?
Man, I don't know. I've got a fascination with Kim Jong-un. Don't ask me why.
Right.
Bob Marley, maybe.
So Kim Jong-un, Bob Marley.
And my historical ancestor, what's his name? Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, the famous warrior.
All right. Okay.
Because I've always wanted to meet the person who I'm named after. So that's always.
Is that who you're named after?
Yeah, I'm more. So basically, Saladin was a warrior who fought against the Crusades, against Richard the Lionheart. But what's interesting about him, he's not necessarily famous for his sort of like warrior qualities as such, because they're just as good generals. What he's famous for is for his chivalry towards his enemies. So Richard the Lionheart was unseated in battle off his horse, and Saladin sent him a fresh horse saying, a warrior like you shouldn't fight
Oh,
in such
wow.
a disgraced position.
Wow.
And a lot of codes of chivalry and honor that the knights took back to Europe actually were influenced by the interaction with Salahuddin. So something that I'm quite proud of, actually.
Mm, mm.
Okay, so next bit.
You could be that magnanimous with your enemies, and
I hope so. I hope
you
so.
hope so.
I mean, I'd like to think so. Yes. So I'm gonna. The fish broke up in many more pieces than I wanted it to, but I'm gonna kind of turn things over now, just so another side gets the cooking. I'm gonna cook it for another couple of minutes, and then I'm gonna put the coconut milk in.
Mm.
So different recipes I've come across. Some people like to put the coconut milk much earlier, but this one I've been kind of trying to replicate for the last couple of weeks. The lady likes to put it at the end, towards the end. I'm going to cook it for 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to put coconut milk in.
Mm. One of the Ubele staff who's from Jamaica
Nice.
is just texting to say that there's a lot of Syrians and Lebanese people in Jamaica. Yeah.
Historically, traders, I believe.
Mm, mm. But in fact,
I remember one of my relatives' carers, and she used to wear like this sort of like turban / headscarf, and she told us that she was Jamaican of Syrian Jewish origins.
Jamaican Syrian Jewish origins.
Yeah, so like, because I know, for example, Sean Paul, the famous artist, he's of Portuguese Jewish ancestry, if I remember correctly.
Right, I had no idea, but I noticed I was in Tobago not last year, the year before, and there was a lot of Syrian people in Tobago as well.
Yeah,
a lot of Lebanese people, sorry, in Tobago.
I'll tell you a fun fact about Syrian people. So obviously we know Steve Jobs was of Syrian origin, but another, like the ice cream cone that you see today. So there used to be, like, when the Ottoman Empire was breaking up, a lot of Syrians went, and Lebanese, they went to what is now New York, and there was a little place, I think in Manhattan somewhere, called Little Syria. But anyway, so one of these immigrants, a chap called Ernest Hamwi, he apparently was one of the people who invented today's ice cream. And it's not I don't find it surprising, because Syria's got a very rich ice cream heritage. So from the Ottoman times, where they make ice cream stretchy with mastic and gum, and they beat it with long wooden beaters. So yeah, that's something I'm quite proud of. All right, so I think we're ready to put the coconut milk in.
So that's like a tin of coconut milk here, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole tin just plonked in.
It says 2 cups of coconut milk, so I might get a bit more coconut milk, maybe not too much more. So the color's starting to look good, I hope. I'll show you what the color looks like in a second. I'm just going to put a bit more coconut milk in.
That's just coconut milk from the fridge, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some spare.
Mm.
Also, with fish curries, I've also learned that you don't want the fish to break into pieces. So even when you mix it, you have to do it sort of manually. not in the sense that you kind of put your hands into the fish. No, I mean like hold it up and mix it like this. Can you see?
I can smell it from here.
So although I might have overcooked the onions, but I saved it with a bit of water. But how are we looking? You can be honest.
No, well, I mean, Zoom kind of cheats on color, but it looks really good. Yeah.
Oh, good. Right. So next stage. Let me see. Okay. Add salt, curry leaves. Okay. Coconut milk and cook for 5 more minutes. Okay. So I've been told to use curry leaves again. Oops. Excuse the mess. I'm just trying to keep this place tidy, but and do things fast at the same time. Right. Okay. So now we need salt. So I'll show you what that looks like now. How's that looking, Michael?
That's looking good. Is that thickened as well as it?
It has.
It has, hasn't it? Yeah. That does look good.
I mean, I really like in Northern Indian cuisine, which I grew up with. We're not a very coconut milk use type of thing. We don't use it. But since my dad started kind of like cooking fish for kind of health benefits, you know, like we started using a lot more coconut milk. And then I remember staying 2 months in Malaysia, and you know, their food is so rich in coconut milk, especially coconut milk. They have like coconut milk, fish, lamb, beef. I just developed such a liking and taste for it. So even the stuff I'm cooking today, it's all these cultural influences that I've absorbed over the years. I don't like to be put into a box, you know. I'd like to think you know, I hate, as cliche as it sounds, I am what I am identity wise, but I'm also like, I think cultures are never static. Like cultures, you're always learning. Like the Syrian culture of today is not the Syrian culture of 50 years ago, nor is the British culture. It's constantly changing. You're constantly adding cultural influences. So anybody who thinks culture is static is really deluded, to be honest. So we've got about 12 minutes, right?
Yeah, about that.
Okay, cool. So now we're gonna let that cook for 5 minutes. Now we're gonna go back to the tis'iyah, or the pudding. Now, so now I have to find paprika, right? So I'm gonna rely on my mum's system.
Found it?
Should be here. Ah, yes. So we use paprika. We're going to use this thing called 7-spice mix. So you can find it in any Arab superstore, like Damascus in Shepherd's Bush, Dimashqi in Shepherd's Bush. So you find it in like Syrian shops or Lebanese shops. I'm going to put some of that spice mix in there. I'll show you what it all looks like in a second. Right. Add some paprika. I'll also send pictures and send it over WhatsApp to Aisha as well. Right, so how's that looking so far?
That's looking good.
Right, so I like to put pomegranates on. So like in Syrian cooking, like sometimes in meat dishes we put pomegranates, and in this particular one you don't necessarily do, but I like it anyway. Because I don't particularly like rules. I'm not not a fan of rules. Never have been.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that is, I'm just going to distribute the pomegranates a bit more, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I might have put a bit too much 7 spice mix, so color is not as good as when I sent you the photos, but hopefully I can fix it quickly.
Mm. Do you know what spices make up 7 spice?
I don't know, to be honest. That's a good question.
Mm.
I have to ask my mum that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what it looks like now.
Oh wow. Mm.
I'll take a quick picture of it. So, and then maybe Aisha could show it on the Zoom. So if Aisha, I've sent it to your WhatsApp, so maybe you can put it on the big screen just to show people what it looks like.
Mm.
Right.
Mm. So I googled it.
To see it.
I googled know what 5 spice was, what 7 spice was.
Yeah.
So allspice. No, it's not. Here it is. Cinnamon, nutmeg, ginger, fenugreek. I've never heard of before.
Fenugreek. Yeah, fenugreek is a very sort of like Mediterranean kind of herb. I don't know exactly what it is, to be honest, but
Right. Okay.
I know that we use it a lot.
Mm. Allspice,
so
pepper, and cloves. Yeah.
I know Jamaicans, for example, use a lot of nutmeg. I know that.
We use a lot of, yeah. I mean, we probably use nutmeg in this dish here that you're doing, the bread one.
Right. So I think the fish curry is finished, but it lost a bit of color. So maybe you can tell me if it needs a bit more coconut.
Maybe I probably can't because I can't really read it from here. Mm.
I can send a picture through Aisha.
Well, we've got 6 minutes left, so should we look at what it looks like on the plate, or are you going to plate it up, or?
I can. Yes, let's plate it up.
Mm.
I'm gonna plate up the sort of chickpea dish, just so you.
While you're plating up, I'm just going to share that image that you sent through.
Mm.
Sure. I'll see if I've got some rice, just so I can put the fish on it. Just give me a minute. Because I've got rice.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Give me a minute. I'll be back in a second. Mama, I'm there.
That really does look good, doesn't it? That looks really tasty. You kind of want to get your spoon in there. Mm. So it's pomegranates, cashew nuts. I'm just trying to remember all the different ingredients in this. The picture's amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
So yeah, so pomegranates, cashew nuts,
Yes.
pita bread.
Yeah.
Go on, help me out.
Yeah.
So cashew nuts were roasted in ghee, weren't they?
We've got a pita bread base.
Mm-hmm.
Then we soaked it with the water of like pre-boiled chickpeas, and then we put like we fried the cashew nuts in ghee, clarified butter, and then we put like 7 spice mix, paprika, and then pomegranates on top. So I found I don't have rice, but I've got quinoa, so hopefully that works just as well. Because we're also trying at home to eat like more healthier substitutes if we can. Hold on. Right, so I've plated it up. So I will show it to the camera and then I'll take a picture and send it.
That looks good.
So I'll take a picture of it now.
Yeah, take a picture because
Does it matter if there's lights in the picture and stuff like that?
say that again. I didn't quite catch it.
Okay, so there's just a few wires in the picture, but you might not see them as much.
I'm sure it's not going to matter. And so you've played that one up and you've sent a picture and
yeah, I've just sent a picture.
How do we eat the other one? Do we just kind of? It just looks like lots of people should just attack it with a spoon each.
Just attack it with a spoon. That's it.
Is that
just
what
dig in?
Just dig in.
So it's just it looks pretty. It looks pretty for presentation purposes. Syrian food is very heavy on presentation.
Right.
You just attack it like any other form of food, to be honest.
Right. Okay. Well, we've got 2 minutes while we. Oops, here it comes. Oh wow.
Should I take a picture of them together, maybe?
Oh wow. No, that's we're probably not going to have time, but that really does look very, very edible. It's making me hungry.
Well, after Corona, you're more than welcome to come over.
After Corona, I probably will hold you to that.
Please do, because for me, like I like to cook I like cooking under pressure because. So I've sent Aisha one last pic, just of both dishes together.
All right. And while she does that, I wonder if you could just kind of tell us your favorite memory of food ever. Your very, very favorite memory of food.
Well, so I was in Morocco, and we were invited to one of my friends, like one of my dad's friends' wife's family in Fez, which is the historic cities of Morocco. Mm-hmm. So they put up like this massive spread in front of us. So I thought, okay, that's the meal. So they told us, like I just ate everything. So I was absolutely bursting. They said, that's just only starters. And I was like, that was like one of my favorite memories of food, but not necessarily because how amazing the food was, because you just felt so loved. Like if you want to love somebody, just feed them. Like that's how my dad used to do it. Like if you loved people, he fed them. And like you even show that love to people who might be your adversaries, your enemies. You feed everybody because sometimes I can't get through to you through politics or through like a really good debating argument. Sometimes I just have to feed you and your prejudice will break down because I've noticed there's some people that they might hate you, but they love your food, but then through loving your food, they hopefully start to love you. I don't know. At least
we talk about breaking bread together, don't we? As a we say we break bread together, we talk together, we learn about each other, we
Yeah.
learn to appreciate each other. So, but listen, I've learned so much about food today. I've kind of found a recipe that I'll definitely try. Thank you very, 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 very much for today.
Likewise, and I hope I'm still learning in all this cooking journey. I'm at very, very, very beginning of my journey. So, like anybody's willing, you're always welcome to like inbox me and tell me, oh, this you could have done better. You could have done like I want to learn. So I'm open to learning.
Okay, and just finally, remind us of the name of your blog.
Adventures in Fashionistan. So remember the in.
Remember the in. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very,
Fashionistan,
very
like Pakistan or Uzbekistan.
Thank you very, very much. Thanks.
Pleasure
for sharing.
speaking to you, Michael,
Okay.
and learning from you as well.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.